What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today when I talk to you about Rivian, I want to go over some of the current data points, what's been coming out associated to Rivian itself, and go over generally when I will be buying more Rivian and why. Before getting to any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. Starting off, Friday, it did go up 2.34%. A lot of volatility, but pretty much right out the gate, it had a nice strong push. So that is one good thing about Rivian, is it does piggyback off of the broader market momentum. And plus, the technicals also play a very big part in Rivian. So at least that's kind of a good thing, despite the lackluster results. But 24.7 million shares being traded, 31.1 is the average. So you did see a lot of good buying. I'll go over that in a second. But the last news that did come out was on October the 4th, and that was this. So I've already done a video all about that. So 13,157 vehicles produced, 10,018 delivered. So that could signal more of a supply chain, which as what they state right here, or could be demand. I know I cover Lucid quite a lot, and early on in 2022, I did bring this up in Lucid's case, that it was a demand issue, and lo and behold, several months later, that's when it's very apparent that it is demand. So this, once again, we'll just have to wait and see for their upcoming earnings, which is slated for November the 7th. But again, it could go either way, depending on how they say things. They do lower the overall guidance because of supply, but in my opinion, that's not to assume based on this as well. So they might not be correlated, but aside from that, because of the mixed data on Friday and just what's been coming out, the consensus for a rate cut is now 25%. And most likely it's going to stick to that, even though a lot of Fed speakers are saying otherwise. But for the November 7th, there is a 89.5% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut. So in reality, I see that as fairly good and very optimistic for the whole EV sector. And actually, just to quickly go over this. So when I did a video, my last video, I did talk all about this, these numbers. And at the time, only one rating did come in. But since then, a lot more. So Morgan Stanley, Adam Jonas, 49% success rating, gave a $13 price target. So Adam Jonas generally is bearish on every EV with exception of Tesla, and he kind of went on and off a little bit. So in 2023 he really liked Rivian, but looks like based on this rating, not so much. Jordan, $16 price target. Trieste, Jordan, who has a 29% success rating. On a side note, I think I've brought this up in the past, every analyst that covers EVs has a horrific rating. Even this individual, 27, $13 price target, $18 price target. Stefan, 41. Like, you might as well just flip a coin, because all these individuals have been very, very, very wrong. And yeah, so essentially you see some optimism, some not. You have a high of $28, and oddly, despite the lackluster data, that is the highest analyst rating as of right now. So $28. So this guy might be on crack, or he might be on to something big. So once again, let me know you guys' thoughts on that. You do see, based on the latest round of 13Fs, a lot of entities kind of just holding their position. Couple selling, couple buying, nothing really crazy, but in my opinion, it'll be the big players, so BlackRock, Vanguard. That'll be interesting to see what they did in Q3. But aside from that, I think Rivian is doing okay, because if you guys did pay attention to a lot of the last earnings, as well as a lot of the fireside chats that the CFO has been participating in, like, it's very apparent that this earnings was, or these Q3 was going to be pretty bad. And it is what it is, and I think even half of Q4, if I remember correctly, is going to be not necessarily the best. But as a byproduct of that, shorts have been rather just still sticking all over Rivian. On Friday, shorts did increase 1.04 million shares. 16.96% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 124.1 million shares overall are being shorted. It's been a while since you've seen that manipulation, because the cost to borrow minimum hasn't been negative for a while now. So right now it is sitting at 0.35. In the past, you frequently have seen it being negative, so meaning there is brokers out there physically paying people to short Rivian. So kind of interesting stuff, just subtle manipulation that is happening behind the scenes. But All in all, going over the options, 4.65 million for calls, 4.33 million in puts. So this is a little bit higher dollar value than normal, but based on this, so on Friday between 1:30 and 1:35, there was 3.2 million in premiums. So again, that's kind of where majority of that comes from. It was just $10 call and $10 put that was done, as you guys can see right here. So just sorting it based on premium. So $10 call, $10 put, January 17th, 2025. So I'm really curious about January 17th, 2025, because I cover quite a few stocks. I have a lot of different YouTube channels, and oddly, big money seems to be very focused on that date. For whatever reason, I get it, that's a monthly chain, but still something is coming, or maybe post elections people are anticipating a lot of volatility associated to that. Again, we'll just I guess have to wait and see. But aside from that, based on the options that was done on Friday, you see some optimism for it to kind of surge back into that $11 to $12 or $11 to $11.50 going into next week. And then looking at puts, you do see a consensus for it to be mostly below $10. Oddly, you see a lot at that $8.50. So I'm not really sure the basis of that. Maybe a lot of people are anticipating a further breakdown. But as far as data coming out next week, so it's not really all that much. A lot of big companies going to be unveiling their earnings. A lot of Fed speakers next week though, but no real true data points. You have retail sales, but that, in my opinion, won't really disrupt the broader market all that much. But these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So very much abnormal for a Friday. So a lot of big transactions being done after hours. During the trading day, somewhat mixed, some buying, some selling, even after hours, a couple big ones. So 8.46, 1.03, 2.2 million. But like I said, somewhat kind of mixed behind the scenes. So that's a good thing about Rivian, is it does, like I said, just piggyback off the broader market. So the algos really propel it higher, and despite and kind of offset shorts increasing. But right now with that $10.50, it is trading between these 2 points, so this S2 and this S1, $10.15. This has been somewhat the saving grace for Rivian. Although when they did unveil their earnings on the 4th, it kind of dipped below that momentarily, but still this S2 has been the saving grace. So like I said, Rivian does follow the technicals pretty much to a T. So take that with a grain of salt, of course. Probably once I say this out loud, it won't, but $10.89 is going to be the next strong resistance / target on the actual chart itself. So it's actually been holding its gains. So in my opinion, I've kind of stated this under some other videos as well, but with all the data points coming out on a macro level, yeah, there's some uncertainty with inflation still, but I think overall, based on the data, everything is insinuating that the market is ready to enter into a expansionary stage and really move higher. As I've stated in the past, once the market does feel comfortable with that, this is where you will see a kind of broad market rotation similar to 2020 to 2021. It hasn't really happened yet. Even last week, you did see, looks like $11.26 billion leave equities, go back into money markets. So still sitting at all-time highs now of $6.47 trillion. But once this $6.47 trillion does realize that the broader market is really going to move higher, a few rate cuts, consumers' buying power will increase, then a lot of stocks and value plays will get the attention from all of that money, right? Not everything in its entirety, but you guys get the idea, right? So this is where Rivian could really stand out, in my opinion, but the technicals have been really holding up for the most part. Stochastic, you do see it at 22, so still very oversold. You see a starting of a nice bullish deviation minorly, so white line above the red. Number of retail investors didn't really do all that much on Friday. You can tell that based on the momentum indicator, and it is essentially below zero. So that does mean that it is losing more buyers than what it is getting. So in my opinion, with next week and a lot of big companies unveiling their earnings, one of which is Netflix and many others, I think that might kind of reassure the broader market even more than what it is. and really propel it higher. And I think in reality, Rivian is going to be stuck below kind of this 50-day moving average, which is around that $12 range, up until their earnings. This is where RJ will really need to hit a home run and really kind of validate that we are on the right move. And based on, I think, that Climate New York Post chat that he did validate a lot of the same kind of points. The fact that Rivian is a long-term play. It's not necessarily short. It's going to take a long time to integrate and everything. But in the short term, I think they do need to calm investors and say everything is okay. This was just a one-off and that we are going to trend up higher. In my opinion, I would actually rather pay more for Rivian to hear that and to actually see the true data. Because yes, Rivian could very much continue to trend down, because if, let's say, the market turns bearish for whatever reason, let's say escalation coming from the Middle East, then Rivian as a byproduct is going to really pull down. And once again, going back over here, the next strong support is at the $9 range for the most part. So technically, Rivian could go down quite a lot. And even the Elliott Wave Technicals, which has been fairly accurate in the past, is predicting the same thing. So it does have a pivot point of $11.30. So for as long as Rivian is below that, then it is anticipated to get between that high 7s and low 8s. So once again, Rivian could really push higher with the broader market, but it will all come down on their earnings. So I'd rather, like I said, pay a little bit more and hear the words of wisdom that I guess that would reassure the broader market and that kind of give good future guidance, rather than just trying to risk it, right? Because a lot of people always confuse the difference between catching a falling knife, so a stock kind of just plummeting and becoming a value play, versus it actually reversing and buying that. Because there's a difference, again, between just speculation and actually investing based on fundamentals. So yeah, that's just my own opinion. So like I said, if it does really for the November 7th earnings say everything that investors want to hear and kind of confirms and doesn't give any red flags, then yeah, I'll definitely buy, even if it is at that 11, 12 or whatever else. I'd rather buy average down, because my average currently I believe is around $14, $15. So I'd rather average down at a higher price, if that kind of makes sense, than just trying to buy now when it could potentially go down to 9, 8 or whatever else. So that's just my own opinion. My crystal ball is sometimes wrong, but I did personally invest in Rivian for the long term, so I'm comfortable with a lot of volatility. Just I like to essentially catch at good time. So what's your guys' thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. On a side note, a couple things. If you are wanting all of this information to be free, so analyst ratings, forecast for upcoming earnings, ownership, everything under the sun, take a look at IBKR for all of it to be completely free. And aside from that, speaking on free, you do get 5 free stocks through this promo with Moomoo. So each stock is valued up to $2,000. So this is a kick-ass deal. Make sure you guys take advantage of this promo and that free app, or that broker with IBKR. And with all that, appreciate all of you guys watching.